What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. I'm super pumped to introduce my next guest to you, who is really, really incredible. She's a business development specialist with over 20 years experience, and she's a best-selling author. Plus, she runs her own digital marketing agency where she helps brands generate massive sales online. She also has a free 90-day customized growth and marketing plan that you can download at her website, launchmasterymarketing.com. I totally recommend you go check that out. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Lindsay Shearer.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to have y'all on today to rock some digital marketing talk.
Absolutely.
Woo-woo.
Yeah. Thank you so much for, taking some time out to come talk to our audience and hopefully, share some of your experience and wisdom with them. You have a lot of experience to pull from, so I'm really excited about this interview.
Woo-woo. Yeah, Corey, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to dive deep into it with y'all.
For sure. So as I was preparing a little bit for the interview, I was kind of going through some of your social feeds and everything, and actually read a post that you made not too long ago where you mentioned having to spend a night in the basement while sirens were going off all around you. It sounds like a story from a nightmare. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My family is from Tornado Alley, everywhere up from Kansas City area all the way down into the South where there are just regular tornadoes. And so growing up, I always had to spend at least some time in the basement. And I'm taking kind of a sabbatical. I'm from the San Diego area myself, moved there when I was really young for about 18 years and taking a little bit of time with family as a high priority and high value right now. And so I am very acutely aware again quickly of how tornadoes are a regular part of life in the Midwest and the South. So yes, digital marketing from the basement while tornadoes are going. Win one for Team Lindsay.
That's crazy. I've never personally been through a tornado, but it seems like the scariest thing on the planet.
Oh, it's real. It is definitely real. And people say, everyone's always afraid of West Coast having earthquakes. Believe me, earthquakes are nothing compared to tornadoes or tropical storms or hurricanes, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I'm glad that all went well for you and you didn't get sucked away.
Right?
All
I
right.
had my computers. Literally the only thing I took with me to the basement was my computers.
Most important thing, right?
It's real.
That's funny. Well, all right. So tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into entrepreneurship and running your own business. It sounds like you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I think there's really never a time that I don't remember myself being an entrepreneur. My dad was always running businesses and buying and selling cars and buying and selling things all the time. And so I really just grew up in that environment. And when I was really young, I had a few different jobs and I worked for a large format digital marketing agency, kind of, but they were more print media. And I really started falling in love. I've always been very creative and I love art and music and business. So I always was just very interested in molding those things all together. And over the years, I got a ton of great opportunities to do venture capitalism, which is cool because you're basically helping people create a business from nothing. I did business brokerage where you're helping people prepare their businesses for sale and for purchase and for licensing agreements and a lot of those things in my early career. And then I thought, hey, I'm kind of tired of making everybody else money. I'm going to make myself some money. So I started a few different businesses of my own. I was really into health and wellness and creative expression. And so I started some holistic medical agencies and businesses and practices and taught at a lot of different colleges. And in the process, I realized that there are a lot of people that are really good at what they do, their zone of genius, and they have no idea how to market their business. And so because I have that creative mix of like artistic expression and I have a very logical business mind, I made a ton of money really fast when I started all my businesses. So I quickly just realized there are a lot of people that need help in this marketing space. And then I started having brick and mortar businesses, doing digital marketing, doing search engine optimization. And I fell in love with that more than actually running my businesses. So started making kind of partnerships with other people and working and consulting at different agencies in the SEO world and then in the digital marketing, just regular agencies. And just, I'm so addicted to change and new, exciting, creative things that this is literally like the perfect industry for me.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's just been so much fun. And because I've been on both ends of the spectrum, the business owner and helping people grow and sell businesses and do digital marketing, I'm a great copywriter and I have a lot of cool skills that I think I can bring in that makes it easier to have better success with your buyers. So, and more fun just in general.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I was going to say that's really comprehensive experience that you have because, like you said, you saw, from the inside, sort of
Yeah.
what it looks like to grow capital, right, and to provide money for a starting business, and then you've also seen the back end, which is selling the business. So
Right.
you've kind of seen it all, which is is amazing. And then the whole marketing aspect, you're absolutely right. It's like there's so many people out there or business owners out there that have amazing products and they provide
Yes.
amazing solutions to problems, but they are just I mean they're dumb as dirt when it comes to marketing, right? It's interesting how that just doesn't seem to play hand in hand perfectly all the time.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, a lot of people will do little test runs, maybe with Facebook ads or whatever, and they don't think it works. But the truth is nowadays, like, 5 years ago, it was a very different landscape in the digital marketing world. You could run super small ads and get leads and get even high ticket phone calls and make really easy sales with a very low ad budget. And now the barrier to entry for digital marketing is much higher. So there are some businesses that are not going to have success right off the bat, probably with paid ads, because their budget's not big enough and you have to get enough data in order to make decisions on how your conversions are working. And so we actually opened another division of our my brand and business, Launch Mastery Marketing, to do Pinterest advertising, because Pinterest is such an underutilized platform where you really can get a lot of that data for a lot cheaper. And you
Mm.
can do organic marketing and you can put in that sweat equity, we call it, where you're basically doing the work and putting in the time instead of having to have huge ad budgets. You can test your offers. Whereas with Facebook marketing, your prices to do that are going to be much higher, but you can get a lot of data faster and your conversion rate is probably going to be higher. So it just, there's a way to do it no matter what. If you really want it, there is a way to do it online. It's just, you got to get creative. You got to learn a ton of different skills and you've got to hire the best people to really help guide you. If you don't have a good coach or you don't have somebody that's in your corner that's been through it, you are going to lose a lot of time and a lot of money. And I did that when I first started out years and years ago, and I watch people do it now. And so I love, Corey, that you're doing this podcast because you can bring on great speakers who have experience doing all of these different things, who can cut that time down of how long it takes to actually become successful and profitable, which can be very daunting and overwhelming when you're starting. So
Yeah,
thank you for doing this.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
wish I had it when I was starting. There was nothing like this when I was starting. So
Yeah, well, you said a couple of things that are really interesting, and one being the fact that online advertising it is expensive, more expensive than it was maybe a couple of years ago, but it is still so much more affordable than traditional media marketing, right? And a lot of
absolutely.
businesses that do like print media or they do radio or television type advertising. I mean, they have actually really big budgets for that kind of
Oh,
marketing,
huge.
and if they could
Yeah.
transition some of that online, it would pay tenfold, right? And the exposure that they would get. And actually, the whole Pinterest idea is something that's really fascinating to me because I've never. I mean, I know about Pinterest, but I've never really considered it as a marketing platform. Can you tell us a little bit about Pinterest and sort of how that kind of
Yeah.
helped us?
So Pinterest is like my secret addiction, secret weapon. And I was literally never a Pinterest marketer, right? So my background when I first started agency work was in an SEO agency. And I quickly started realizing that some of my images that were on Pinterest were showing up with my keyword strategies that I was using on Google and things like that. And so I was like, okay, what is this about? And so I got really heavily into the research aspect about how Pinterest is being used. And I came to find out that over 200 million users a month are on Pinterest. The average order value of Pinterest buyers is much higher. 83% of people who are on Pinterest are planning purchases. So they're saving things, they're going back, they are ready to buy. Our conversion rates for certain e-com businesses are way higher on Pinterest with Pinterest advertising. They actually have an entire advertising platform now that's like the Facebook advertising platform or any other social media platform. And the craziest thing about Pinterest is it is not a social media platform. It is a search engine. So if you treat it like a search engine and you use the search engine strategy to market on there, you can have phenomenal results. Now, people are just now starting to realize that. And the marketers that are using it are having phenomenal success. I watched my clients get 450,000 viewers to their website per month. I mean, it's just craziness.
Wow.
And there's so much room for growth there. And so I've just been recently in the last probably 2 years or so launching more paid ads for my clients. Before we still do have a phenomenal organic strategy that gets us really, really good results for lower budgets, which is really nice. And then with your paid ads, just like Facebook, you can get higher, quicker results, more data fast. Right. So we've been really hitting that kind of hard for some of our e-com brands, some coaches, interior design is a big one, real estate. So it just really depends on the diversification of your budget. And nowadays with the algorithms changing all the time, it's very important to have a multi-platform strategy. Mm-hmm. So our clients and I do work with a lot of e-com, a lot of coaching clients, and a lot of folks who are we try and push everyone to have a membership, some type of a membership model. It doesn't have to look like a membership, but where they're getting residual income every single month. And so we want to diversify that strategy to use additional methods besides just Facebook advertising. As you know, there are a lot of issues with accounts going down, and they're very much changing their policies. They're rolling out the new CBO, which actually got pushed back till the beginning of next year. But either way, you're dependent on the platform, the algorithm. So I push everyone towards what we call owned audiences, where you're getting them on your email list, where they're on different platforms, where they're in your network. I call it the ecosystem, where you're hitting them with all these different touch points so that they're getting nurtured and building real relationships. Because that's where the real change actually happens for people, is in that real relationship marketing. So
absolutely.
Yeah, Pinterest is fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I love what you said about thinking about it like a search engine as opposed to a social platform, where all the SEO strategies that, traditional to Google, right? When you think about how to get your page found on Google, those same strategies can apply to Pinterest. That's pretty neat. And then I didn't even know they had the paid advertising side. So that's something I'm going to have to look into for sure. Also, big takeaway is the fact that people on Pinterest are ready to buy. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because
they came there to buy.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's important, because you got to meet people where they're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
and the buying process, the buying cycle, like you're saying, is people that are on Facebook are there really for social reasons. And now, I mean, it's becoming with the groups, and they're really pushing hard on groups, which is cool, because then you have special interest areas where people are still, but a lot of it is not as much business. There's a smaller niche business. Most of it is social. So you have a different strategy for the buying process.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really, really smart. And I also agree big time with like the multi-platform approach, because if Facebook, not that it's going to, but if it does go down, and you're solely on Facebook, your whole business goes away. Right. So it's important to sort of spread your chips around, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. And find the strategies that work best for your niche market. I don't suggest that everyone take on every platform. I feel like that's crazy. And people ask me all the time, what social media platforms should I be on? Well, the answer is, where are you regularly? Are you on Twitter every day? Then focus on Twitter. If you're on Facebook every day, then focus on a Facebook strategy. So don't try and do everything. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see with young entrepreneurs and people just starting out, is they get so overwhelmed. And I went through that too with all of these different platforms. Just focus on making one or two work. Make one or two work, make it profitable, and then set aside some money to try out some other ones if you feel like your target market is really there, and doing the research and the messaging and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's great advice. So is there anything happening in like the digital landscape that's exciting you at the moment that you are looking forward to?
Yes. Besides the Pinterest marketing, which I'm such an addict for, is seriously such a blue ocean space, which doesn't come around very often. So I'm really excited about that. We do a lot of SMS marketing now and a lot of messenger bots, which I'm actually really addicted to and excited about the results and trying to automate some of the process, not the entire process because we're still very high touch. And I'm very much a relationship marketer. I'm came in up in the sales world and SEO and all that stuff is very relationship focused. And so there are a lot of really cool tools that are coming out and people that are creating and generating new softwares that are making it very easy to do a multi-platform approach much easier with much less manpower and much less amount of time having to manage everything. So I love that. That gets me excited. It stresses me out a little bit. The barriers to entry are just consistently rising for things like Facebook ads and for some of our brands who are just getting started. But I do love the fact that we have this Pinterest marketing model that we've rolled out and some SEO for local businesses that makes it so that people can at least, get used to the process, make more money. It's definitely never been a better time than to digital market on the digital landscape, and there's always new and fun ways coming out and things like native ads, and there are a lot of just things that are making it a push towards more relational marketing, more authenticity, and more conversational marketing, which I love. I prefer it that way. I am so not about getting 90,000 LinkedIn messages every day that you can tell are just they're non-specific to me, and they have no idea who I am. They haven't read anything about me. And it's like, dude, what makes you think I'm going to do business with you that way? I'm just not. I'm much more organic. I really, truly care. I want to see people have tremendous success. I want to be, if I'm going to take on a client or a brand, I'm invested in that process. I'm spending a lot of my time, effort, and energy and hard-earned skills to help people have tremendous success. So I don't even look at it like we're taking on clients. For me, everything is pretty much a collaboration or partnership.
I love that.
Because that's how you really succeed. And that's how I want to live my life. That's how our team is family. That's how I want the legacy I want to leave moving forward, is that so many people are lacking in community, lacking in real authentic relationships. And there are a lot of people that are just emotionally starving. And so that, of course, leads into like the ministry side. And I really have a lot of hope in the faith-based business and things like that. But that's one of the things that I'm seeing is that message works for all platforms, is relationships first.
Totally. And it's interesting that, as we're moving into a world that seems like we're so much more connected, like you said, we're all still striving and starving for that true connection, that real relationship. And I totally agree. It is beyond annoying to consistently get, inbox messages of like, hey, I'm so-and-so and I do this and that and whatever, and let me do it for you. It's like, I'm sorry, but that is not how you prospect.
No, I don't even like those are, I have days where I'm like, delete, you're no longer on my list. Like, seriously, I would never recommend a client to a person, and I get like that there are some strategies and some people like that, and that's okay. That maybe that works for them. We just have kind of a different model.
I mean, I don't know. I guess in some ways it can be argued that it's a numbers game. And if I hit up enough people, one of them is going to say yes, but that's not a really great strategy for long-term growth. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. As a new entrepreneur getting started, right, that maybe they are offering a service or they have a product, we want to come with the giving, obviously, and prospecting, but there always is that ulterior motive that we have something to sell. What's some advice you could give somebody, for how they should approach people and sort of build that relationship before asking?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's sometimes it depends on where a person is in the cycle of education. I find myself doing a lot of education, like explaining to people, most people want a totally done for you agency service model, and they don't realize like the minimum starting point is usually like $3,500 minimum per month plus ad budget.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter where you go. If you want a legitimate agency that's going to handle and help you run ads, email marketing, build your funnels that are actually going to convert and make you money, there's an investment. And so it's kind of really getting people in touch with the results that they're looking for, helping people stay results focused and not even benefits focused. You can list all the wonderful benefits of your service, but that does not get people in this engagement of having an emotional response to the results that they want. And so for me, my heart is really always to raise people up into their destiny. People know that they're here for something greater. And a lot of people are depressed because they're not walking into that. And so I end up having to do a lot of coaching, I feel like, even on my sales calls and things like that, because there are so many broken people and so many people who don't understand the process of digital marketing. And I just look at it like, you know what? That's okay. That's par for the course. I know my target audience. I know that I like working with people sometimes who have a little more experience, but if they don't and they're hungry and they're focused and they're ready and they understand business enough to know you have to spend money to make money, then I'm willing to work with them. So it really just depends on where you're at in your confidence level and building the confidence level of the ideal target market of who you want, and then building the skills that you need in order to really service them. So if you're starting out and you really only want to get $500 a month coaching clients who need help with a specific thing, go for it. Start there. Learn business. Learn personal growth, personal development. Learn the skills that you need to do. Trial and error everything. Get on the job training, we call it, where you're just getting a coach that's helping you walk through it, that's been through things. And then scaling as you go from there. Maybe realize, and I always tell people when they're starting a business, it may take you a year to figure out really who your ideal clients are. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to try a few different things, say yes to a few things that really suck that you end up hating, and realize, okay, now I'm not going to do this service, or now I'm not going to offer this. This price point is way too low for the amount of work that I have to do for this. So all of that is kind of trial and error, and it's all about just getting yourself out there. And a lot of times in the digital marketing world, we sell things and then jump yourself off a cliff to learn how to fulfill it.
Right.
But throw yourself in the deep end. You can learn it. Get a great coach. Get somebody that's on your side no matter what, who has skills. And don't be afraid to tackle big projects that seem difficult at first. So
for sure, that's really great advice, and I totally agree that, you know, understanding first off that you have to have the right mindset and you have to have the belief in yourself, I think is really like that first step into becoming a successful anything, right? Because I actually just made a post about this. If you don't believe in yourself, like, why would you expect anyone else to, right? So you really have to first, you know, come to terms with the fact that you do have a purpose and you do have value to provide to the marketplace. And if you can really firmly believe in that, then, you know, you just got to get out there and start trying, right? And I love too that it's super critical to know exactly who you're talking to. Like, who is your perfect prospect? Like, who can you serve the most? And it does sometimes take trial and error. I mean, I've definitely been through my fair share of services and clients that I was like, what did I do? Like, what have I got?
Never again.
You know? Yeah. So, but you got to start somewhere, you know, and I think the most important thing is to just start, right?
Yeah, it's critical. People forget how important the mindset work is. And I see it all the time as far as like blocks that come up and things like procrastination. And you really have to make it your life goal and your part of your life purpose to do whatever it takes to pull the greatness out of you.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yes, it's real too. It's like a real look yourself in the mirror every single day and be honest about where you're at and what you need. And don't be afraid. I mean, everyone's going through the journey, and just be really real and authentic, and don't try and be something that you're not. And people will gravitate towards it, and they'll learn and be honest with where you're at in the process. And you'll be amazed. It works so much better than trying to present this beautiful facade that isn't actually real. So
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. You cannot try to project something that you're just not. I mean, people see through it, you know, It's just, and then it just leads to, you know, them not trusting you and not wanting to do business with you. Right. Uh, yeah. So, you know, I wanted to ask you, one more question. It totally just slipped my mind. Oh, in regards to, nah, I'm gonna have to cut that out. I'm sorry. I totally blanked on that. Anyway,
All good.
yeah, I had something I wanted to ask you, and I totally blanked on it. But anyways, let's just move on. So I want to kind of shift gears. We've talked about digital marketing a little bit and like the whole space, and everybody knows, or if you don't know, you should know. You need to be out there online with your business because that's where your customers are. But let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit and talk about like the work-life balance because you've clearly got a lot of things going on. And as we were talking earlier, you're now spending time with the family and you've got things that you're, you know, trying to reconnect with there. How do you manage it all? Like with, you know, I mean, there's a million directions you can go in. How do you balance it?
Yeah, so I kind of branded myself as launch mastery marketing because I look at it like you're in phases. There are phases in your business where you're in product development mode, you're in content creation mode, you're in launch mode, and you're going to be working more. And I just kind of tell the people in my life, hey, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I really do not have social time. I don't have time to, like, that's just not my priority for these next 3 weeks. And then I may have a down week where I have a lot more time that I can prioritize family and I can prioritize, you know, errands and random crap that you have to do to function and survive as a healthy human being. I'm very blessed that I got really sick when I was like in extreme. I had an extreme personality and I had to go to extremes in order to learn some of this work-life balance. And I got really sick. And that's what actually got me initially into the holistic medical world and starting my own clinic and starting my own practice was because Western medicine, I was just not getting normal daily life relief for the high amounts of stress that I was always under. And I had learned to function with extreme high amounts of stress that most other people would just be crushed under the weight of. And so I was kind of forced into this process to learn how to do things like I had to get really serious about my relationship with God and understand how to live from a place of rest and peace and know that my stability and my mental sanity and my peace does not come from the things that I'm doing. It comes from who I am and who God says that I am. And actually believing that about myself was a massive shift. And that's a work in progress every single day. But learning to rest in those promises and knowing I'm going to be taken care of and knowing I'm his daughter who he would do anything for and has provision for my life already designated to me was something that I had to be intentional about receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And so that took a lot of things: prayer, getting in community, music. I love music. That really helps me. I think a lot of us who are very high performing are great at music, and that's kind of an undertapped thing. And I love art, and I have to just be really intentional about being present, being focused on being in the moment. Learning and meditation and prayer and stuff like that helps with that. Music helps with that. And not living so far in the future and so far in the what I want, so far in the what I need to do, what I need to have. This launch needs to be ready. Living in that adrenaline space that we're all addicted to about when things are, you know, going really fast and you're seeing results and it's addicting. It's like a chemical release. And so learning that there are seasons and there are ebbs and flows in that process. And in the meantime, always coming back to center, always prioritizing relationships with people who matter to me and prioritizing time. And I take Sundays off, like all the way off. I go to church, I have lunch. I know it took me a while, almost like need to go to therapy to say that sentence out loud, and I have gone to therapy. I would recommend it. That actually will help you in your goals and dreams and blocks and things that are standing in the way of your business, getting your mental and emotional crap and forgiveness and healing figured out.
That's
Are
awesome.
all, yeah, tremendously important parts of living from a place of peace and rest. If you don't live there, you're going to get consumed by everything else. And your schedule is going to rule your life. Your clients will rule your life. Your emotions will rule your life. It doesn't work.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. I think what you said about, like understanding that your best self comes from a place of rest,
Yes.
and knowing that you can't serve anybody when you have nothing in your cup, right? So
Yep.
just constantly just, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And it's just nonstop. I mean, you just slowly go downhill with your quality and, with just the value that you're providing and, what you're actually doing. So it is super critical that you take time off and that you realize, you have to recoup and you have to rest to be your best self. I think it's imperative. I totally agree. And what you said about therapy, it's you have to have people to talk to. Like I
Yeah.
think one of the most important things for growth and stability long term is to have a core, knit group of people that you can confide in, that trust, that you can trust, that trust you, and that you all want what's best for each other, right? Whether it's one to one in a therapy setting, or whether it's one to a few in like a mastermind type of thing,
Yeah.
or coaching or whatever. Having people that are driven, that are on the same path, that have that same vision around you that you can trust and confide in is super important.
Yeah, it's critical. And then I will add one more quick thing. And I used to teach classes to Vistage. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're like for high performing entrepreneurs and corporate folks who need to learn how to do. I taught classes on productivity. And one of the most important things you can do is figure out what your income producing activities are for
Mm.
you personally in your business. The top 3 income producing activities that you need to do personally to move the business forward. If they do not get done, your business does not move forward. So figuring those things out, learning to delegate the things that are not on that list, as you start getting more money, delegating the bottom of the list out,
Mhm.
and um, investing in good, high quality people that are going to help you do that. That's like the best thing you can do. Delegate income producing activities.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the first books that I actually read that kind of got me onto my personal journey and my entrepreneurial journey was The 4 Hour Work Week, which is
Oh
very
yeah.
similar to kind of what you're saying, which is, finding the biggest levers in your business, right? What are the biggest levers that you can pull that generate results, and focus on those, and just literally just delegate everything else possible.
Yep.
Now, I think on that point, it's important, and maybe you agree. I don't know. I'd like to get your take on this, but I think it's important that you at least know like enough about what it is that you're delegating to know whether or not the person's doing a good job. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I tell people like don't delegate until you have the system structured out. I have the most ridiculously detailed instruction sheets for every single thing that I delegate.
Uh,
Like every question you could ever think of, screenshots, I shoot videos for my team. I have very clear instructions for them because if I don't have a system in place that works, they will never learn it.
right.
Every now and then, like I may hire somebody to do some exploratory research to learn a new strategy and come back to me like, hey, what is it going to take to implement that? I'm actually doing that right now with one of our new bot softwares that I'm really excited about. But that's kind of a different story. Like I always tell people, they think, oh, you can delegate and you're just going to quickly scale. No, you can give yourself a boatload more work to do by hiring a bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing and you constantly having to coach them, field phone calls, put out fires. Or you can have a crazy detailed system that they can follow that's duplicatable. You have to get your system duplicatable or you will never scale.
You know what I call that is the alien abduction manual. So
Yeah.
if you were to be abducted by aliens tomorrow, do you have a
Yeah.
manual that somebody could take and start doing that job? you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I just get really I have hired folks that are not from the US oftentimes. So you have to factor in like the language barrier. And I have clients that are not in the US. So we try and make everything as easy as possible for them to follow the process. And pictures are great and things like that. And we have, different softwares that we use, Asana and Trello to track projects and make sure that things are not falling through the cracks.
That's cool. Well, Lindsay, I got a question for you. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Music. I play piano and guitar. I don't know how well, but I love it. And I'm involved in my church. I do a lot of fun church activities, and I like to read. I read all different kinds of books. I'm always learning about mystical Christianity and just our human potential, what our human potential is capable of. And I have a lot of random friends that do crazy things that you would never believe, just pushing our bodies and minds to the potential of our humanity. And so I love reading about stuff like that. And
That's
I
cool.
write occasionally for blogs and stuff like that. So
Nice. Well, I am a fellow musician as well, so I know that joy for sure.
yes,
It's an outlet. It's just another way to express yourself.
absolutely.
Um,
It's a requirement for my life. If I don't have music, I had a coach a few years ago that made me write out all my priorities and all the things that I put a high value on. And I didn't realize at the time I was kind of depressed and going through depression and couldn't figure out why. And he's like, dude, you have such a high value for music, and none of the activities in your life are lining up with this high value for music.
mm,
And so I started taking classes and getting some tutoring from a friend who's a great piano player. And it's just amazing. Like, the depression lifted. And if
that's
our goals and our daily activities are not in alignment, that is a recipe for depression.
for sure.
Yes.
For sure. Well,
Can't
cool.
say that.
I have one more question for you, Lindsay, and then I'll let you get off here. But if you were to, I mean, you've got a lot of experience behind you and obviously have built a lot of skills and knowledge up until this point. But from where you're at today, looking back, what is some advice that you give yourself maybe 5 or 10 years ago?
I would give myself the advice to make an offer and run a bunch of money in ads right away. That's one thing that I lagged and I had so much resistance for, and I just made excuses for not having money, and I would also hire an assistant faster and delegate. I always was just doing too much myself. There's a lot of advice, but I would say really well vet your partners, or people that you're going to collaborate with, and make sure that you're teaming up with people not from wounding. That's a huge thing that happens that you don't even realize, that other people have issues. And for me, people would gravitate towards me because I'm really strong and I have a lot of emotional intelligence and a lot of support around me. And so they want that. And so I made poor decisions along the way about partnerships and collaboration. So that's a big one. But yeah, find an offer, test it, run ads, make money, build your email list right away.
That's awesome. And it's actionable. So
Yes.
for anyone listening, there you go. There's no time like the present to get out there and put your offer out there and actually, pay to get it in front of people.
Yes. Do it.
We're living in a really special time right now, as I'm sure you agree. And, it's just the opportunities that are in front of us they just weren't here even 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Lindsay, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate having you on the show. Can you tell the folks where they can find you and what you got going on in your life right now?
Yeah, you can hit us up at launchmasterymarketing.com. I have a really awesome Facebook group online that we can tag you guys in or welcome in. If you just search Lindsay, Facebook group, Lindsay Shearer, you'll find us. We talk everything digital marketing. That's like my main area that I spend a lot of time creating free videos and things like that. I'm also on Instagram, Lindsay B. Shearer. I do a lot of live videos and things on there as well. But yeah, definitely come join the party, join the conversation, join the community, get some support and love.
All right. I love that. You guys go check Lindsay out. Definitely go check out launchmasterymarketing.com. A lot of really great info there. Lindsay, thanks again for being on the show. This has been a blast. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Corey. Thanks for doing this and for rocking it out for all of you young newbie entrepreneurs who are ready to make some real cash and make some real impact.
There you go. Let's do it.